friends, Britt here, and I got to play Cyberpunk 2077. Boy, oh boy, and I am so excited to talk to you about it. Oh boy. I just tweeted earlier that I have literally 10 pages of notes in Microsoft Word, all typed up and raring to go for the podcast this week. But I thought since embargo just lifted and since the Cyberpunk event just got over, it would be fun to take some questions and do a little Q&A. And then I'll go into some real nitty-gritty deep dive shit on Friday's show. Common question I am getting is, how the hell did you get to play Cyberpunk when we're kind of like in the pandemic and everything's on quarantine? Well, lots of Magic friends, lots of streaming technology and Magic, but I did play it through the internets with an Xbox One controller because mouse and keyboard were disabled for the demo for reasons I don't know, and quite frankly, I don't really care. Also, I'm sorry in advance if there's no B-roll or visual assets other than my blabbing face during this video. I just don't have that much time because I have to record it, edit it, upload it, and I still got to get some other stuff done in between. So sorry and apologies in advance, but hopefully the Night City Wire gave you enough to visually fap over for the time being. Ooh, hey guys, Britt from the future here. So I just got done recording the video and it looks like I'm not going to have time to upload B-roll or put in some fancy overlays of the questions, which I really wanted to do, but I'm just running out of time because I want to try to get this up and edited. That's not what she said, but that's kind of what she said. I don't know what I'm saying. It's late. So just a heads up. Thank you again for watching and back to me. And now, without further ado, let's talk about Cyberpunk, the first whiskey. Oh god, the first sip is always like sandpaper. Yeah. So a little bit about the demo itself. So it took place over the course of about 4 or so hours. So it was a big, chunky, meaty demo boy, and I loved it. It was great. Anywho, so it started off from the very beginning of the game with character customization and whatnot, and then from there you play a little part, then it hops ahead to where you learn the basics of gunplay, of hacking, advanced combat, and stealth. And then from there, it kind of just goes on into a main mission with some sub-missions in between that. If you wanted to play them, you could. But I was told that the prologue itself, the main meat, if you will, was pretty long, so I should focus most of my attention on that. And that is what I did. And I did have a developer with me on the other end the whole time. They didn't talk or anything like that. Their mic was muted, but they were there, and it was really handy if I ever had any questions. I could just talk into my microphone, and then like, boom, there was a person on the other end. It was pretty cool. Our first question comes from Kevin Komaki. How deep is the customization? It is so deep and so good. And I spent probably far too much time just kind of diving in and learning about what I could and couldn't do. So let's back it up to the very beginning to the character customization, and I'm going to get my notes out here because I'm going to need them. So regarding the physical character creation screen where you actually see the character you're building, I didn't spend a heck of a lot of time in there because I knew A, I would probably never see that character again, and B, that I didn't have that much time with the demo, so I didn't want to spend all of my time creating a hot blonde heroine, if you will, but I did create one. She wasn't like as hot as I'd want her to be, but I didn't have enough time to tweak with the settings. Anyway, I digress. That's not important. What is important is that you can customize your genitals. Now that's the important part. You can have a vagina, you can have a penis. I think there are multiple penises you could choose from. I believe the length was the difference there. I could be wrong. Maybe one was circumcised, maybe one wasn't. I didn't look that hard and that intently. I should have, but I didn't. There was also an option to customize your nipples as well, or you could leave all that stuff alone. It's your choice. But where I really get all hot and bothered with the customization of Cyberpunk is when it comes to your perk and attribute points. So your main attributes are, I have them right here, body, reflex, intelligence, technical ability, and cool. So your body is your physical power. This improves your health, increases your melee damage, your max stamina, you can open new passages if you have enough body power, and you can force people out of cars, which I think is like the most important thing. You have reflex, which is your coordination and speed. So this helps with your crit chance, your attack movement speed, your evasiveness, how well you handle rifles, handguns, and blades. So if you want to shoot a bunch of shit, which I'm sure you're going to want to, make sure you get that reflex up. Then you have intelligence, which is your intellect and memory. So this helps with reducing hacking difficulty levels, shortens your program upload duration, more memory for hacking, and dialogue options. And I don't know if I'm going to get into all the nitty gritty of like what hacking entails during this video. I'll probably save that for the Friday show, but the hacking is really fun in this game. It's It's really cool. The things that you can make enemies do. Yeah. Then you have your technical ability, which is your technical aptitude. This is your armor amount, increasing your crafts ability, proficiency with tech weapons, and gives you dialogue options. And finally, you have cool, which is self-control and willpower. So how it described it in the description was how well you handle dicey situations, which I thought was pretty cute. How well you hold up in dicey situations. Excuse me. So this improves your stealth, how fast NPCs notice you, your crit hit damage, improves effect resistances, and how good of an assassin you are. So, if you're the complete opposite of me and you want to be a stealthy squirrel, you're going to want to improve that cool stat. That cool attribute, rather. So you have those 5 attributes, right? You have body, reflex, intelligence, technical, and cool. And each one of those main attributes can be leveled up to 20. That's what I saw anyway, and that's what I took away from it. But besides attribute points, you also earn perk points when you level up. Well, Britt, what are perk points used for? You may ask. Each one of those attributes have skill trees underneath them that are called perks, essentially. So for example, the body attribute has 3 different skill trees associated with it, aka 3 different perk trees associated with it, and each one of those has about 20 individual perks within that. For example, the body attribute has 3 different perk trees. It has athletics, street brawler, and annihilation. So depending on how you want to build your bodied character, your strong character, you will use one of those, and you'll use the perk points that you get to update that. If you want to go under the reflex attribute, that has blades, rifle, and handgun, so 3 other perk skill trees that you can customize your V. That's the name of the character, it's V. I should have said that from the get-go, sorry. If you go under the intelligence attribute, you have target hacking and device hacking perk trees. If you go under the cool attribute, you have the stealth tree and the cold blood. I have cold lewd on there, but I know that's supposed to be blood. Cold lewd perk tree, cold blood. And that's not all. You also have these characters in the game called Ripper Docs who essentially modify your cyberware, which are these little, I guess you could think of also as little perks or little gadgets and gizmos that you insert into your body to make you more efficient at what you want to be good at. There are 3 different kinds of cyberware. There's active, which means that you have to push a button to activate it. There are triggered cyberware, which means the effects won't go into place until something happens that triggers it. And then you have your passive, which I feel like is pretty self-explanatory. So here's some examples of some of the cyberware that you can get your body modified with. And so you kind of get an example of what this looks like. It's a menu, and then there's all of these little boxes everywhere. And you can modify your frontal cortex with 3 different mods, or cyberware, excuse me. Your circulatory system can handle 3 different cyberware mods. Your immune system can handle 2. Your nervous system can handle 2. Then you have some for your skeleton, hands, arms, and legs, etc. And depending on which mods you get, I call them mods because that's just kind of the name that comes to mind. But it's definitely called cyberware. Depending on the cyberware you get, you can really customize your character even further with that. I promise you some examples. So there is the Mantis Blade, which is installed in the arm slot, and basically these steel things spring out of your forearms. I think you've probably seen that in the trailer from way back in the day. I think that's it, right? Where the girl's sitting down and she has these weird things coming out of her arm. I think that's a Mantis Blade. I don't think that's what mantises sound like. There's the Reflex Tuner, which is a triggered cyberware slot, and this is put in the nervous system, and this activates slow motion when your health drops past a particular point. And then there's the passive Sin Lungs, which is installed in the cardiovascular slot, which provides stamina regen. So there's a whole bunch. I mean, just going off of a quick calculation here, there's 3, 6, 10, 12, at least probably 17 or 18 different cyberware slots that you can install V with, which I think is just fucking, I'm so excited. The next question comes from Andrew Smith. How do the gun mechanics feel compared to other shooters? It felt very standard. If you are playing on an Xbox controller, LT to aim down, RT to shoot, X to reload. There wasn't actually there was shooting in the game, don't get me wrong. I did go through some quests that required me to, well, I don't think I was required to do this, but I chose to face tank and shoot everyone I could. But it was all very simple, LT, RT, LT, RT. I didn't have to do anything fancy. But like I said, it just felt very intuitive. Didn't feel like anything out of the ordinary. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. There are 3 different gun types, though. There's power guns, which are your typical bullets and I almost said bullet powder. To say gunpowder friends. So yeah, you have your power weapons, you have your smart weapons, which are described as small handheld launchers for self-guided missiles, which sounds 100% like something I need in my life because I can't aim for shit. And then there's tech weapons, which are described as a powerful electromagnetic force generated by magnets around the barrel that launches projectiles at incredibly high speeds, perfect for piercing through armor and other defenses. So there you go. And also, since Cyberpunk is an RPG, when you do pick up a weapon, you're going to see certain stats like its DPS, its damage range, the attacks per second, if it has any additional perks. I was using a handgun, for example, that had additional like 5 to 7 physical damage. And then underneath that, there were 2 empty mod slots. And so it does have that little RPG feel to it. Well, it has a lot of RPG feel to it, I should say. Jason Billingsley wants to know, what is the quality of the voice acting between the male or female protagonist? I don't know why I gave you word voice, Jason. I am sorry. Also, did your build have any romance options, or was that later on? Unfortunately, I didn't get to experience any romance in my time in Night City. But it has been confirmed that there are going to be one-night stands. There are going to be long-lasting relationships you can build in that game. That's what I'm talking about. All of the one-night stands. Fuck commitment. Fuck commitment in a video game. I love you, husband. Don't hate me. As far as the voice acting goes, I really liked it. So a couple years ago when we saw this game for the first time was E3 2018. Never forget it. And admittedly, I was incredibly hungover that day that we went to go see Cyberpunk, which was an hour-long behind closed-door demo. Bless their hearts. They brought us water. It was phenomenal. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but I remember Steimer, who was with me, also felt the same way, that there was something about the female V's voice acting that really turned us off, and it felt like it was very flatline, like there wasn't a lot of gusto or emotion behind it, and something about it was just really off-putting. When we saw the demo again last year at E3 2019, she and I also both agreed that it had seemed to have improved, but I was looking and I don't see any news article out there about them redoing any lines. I mean, I'm sure lines have been redone, but I don't think there's been a huge, gigantic overhaul with the voice actress. So when I was playing the game yesterday, I loved it. I really enjoyed the voice acting. I really liked V. I thought she sounded great. And I don't know what it was about 2018 that seemed to kind of turned us off a bit, but I didn't have those same concerns after playing the game yesterday. So happy to report. I didn't get to play as male V, so I can't comment on that. Sorry. Benjamin Ketcherside wants to know, did playing a bit increase your hype for the game? Yes. Hans E. Kaz Jr. wants to know, is there anything that you feel is missing or has changed significantly from when you last saw this game to your hands-on session with it now? So like I said, the first time I saw Cyberpunk was in 2018, and then I saw it in 2019. And one of the missions that I did during this demo was from the mission in the E3 2018 demo, where you're trying to rescue someone out of a bathtub. And looking at it after playing the newest version yesterday, there definitely were some not issues. There were some changes, specifically with the UI and the way things would pop up on the screen. And when you're trying to upgrade your cyberware, for example, that whole menu has been overhauled and changed. I would say I didn't have enough time to pinpoint every little change, but what I have seen looks far more polished. It feels like there was much more thought that went into the menu system now. So I would say definitely an improvement from 2018 and 2019. So yeah, get excited. Luke Lord wants to know, were you intimidated by the scope of the game? If I had known how much there was to do initially in Witcher 1, I would have been nervous. Was the amount of content paced well? I thought so. I mean, it's hard when you're playing a demo. I mean, it's hard when you're playing a demo no matter what, but especially when you're playing a slice of a game as large as Cyberpunk, because you want to try to see everything. The developers want you to try to see everything. There were some cool new mechanics that I hadn't seen before that I got to experience yesterday. So it felt like there was a lot kind of being crammed into my brain in the 4 hours that I was playing. And I feel like I didn't really have a lot of time to stop and look around and gawk, or maybe I had and I just mismanaged my time. But I think there's going to be a lot to do, but I think once you get your head wrapped around it, once you kind of figure out what you want to do and how you want to play this game, you're going to be able to tailor it to what suits you. You don't have to do everything, but if you're curious as to what there is to do, let me read you the map legend. So if you open up the map and then you push the legend button, the legend will pop up, and these are all the little icons that you can have. There's main job, side job, gun for hire, search and recovery, thievery, Agent Saboteur, SOS Merc Needed, Special Delivery, Assault in Progress, Cyber Psycho Sighting, and then you have clothing stores, Ripper Docs, techies, weapons, trainers, food, which I'm assuming is like a restaurant. Then you have bars, and you have all sorts of other side quests that you can do in the game that I didn't get a chance to partake in. So I think there's going to be a lot to do. And again, I think the pacing kind of comes down to you and what makes sense for your play style. I know for me, I tend to burn out if I try to take on too much. Anyway, I digress. TLDR, I think I kind of answered your question, and I think I kind of like veered off and started talking about all the stuff there is to do in this game. Sorry. I'm going to butcher your name. I'm sorry. Ola Soyo wants to know, did you get to ride around in the motorcycle? If so, did vehicle transportation feel necessary to get around Night City? And are there any missions that take advantage of these vehicles? Example, races, vehicle hijacking, or sabotage? Unfortunately, I wasn't able to ride a motorcycle, but I did drive a car to and fro from my one quest objective to the other. And I will say, like, you're probably gonna want to use a car, especially before you unlock fast travel points, because some of the locations that you have to drive are, you know, like, they're quite a little jaunt. Now, granted, like I was saying earlier, I don't know if there's a lot to keep you entertained between point A to point B, because I don't know, because I haven't had the chance to walk around Night City yet and really get a feel for what it's like to walk everywhere instead of drive. But you probably will want to drive, like I said, and then eventually you'll probably just unlock fast travel. And since Night City is being described as a living thing, there might be interesting things that you only discover when you are walking around, and you do get to hear the conversations of people around you. I did notice when I was in the car and maybe Jackie was driving, there would be people outside with little like blue triangles above their head, and I'm assuming that's because they had things to say and there were conversations being had, because I had some subtitles turned on and I was able to kind of like get a glimpse of like what they were talking about as we were driving away. There were some instances where I had to shoot things from the car. So if Jackie was driving, I would lean out, typical LT to aim, RT to shoot, X to reload. And I didn't talk about this earlier, and I should have when I was talking about guns. There is a slight aim assist that I don't know if it's turned on automatically or if that's just the way the demo was set up, but I did notice it, and I did appreciate it as someone whose aiming really sucks. But it even was noticeable during the vehicle shooting scenes. And then I did notice too, when you are aiming down the sights, the reticle does move very slow, but I'm sure there's a sensitivity option you can adjust if you prefer to have quicker movement speed because you're a monster and you're good at that stuff. I need to go slow, otherwise it moves too fast and then I get dizzy and then we all throw up and it's just, you know. Sammy Nichols wants to know, are we overhyping or underhyping this game? I feel like we're hyping this fairly. I feel like the hype is real. I feel like the hype is warranted. I feel like the hype is at a good level right now. I think a lot of people are very excited for this game, and I think CD PROJEKT RED has proven that they are very capable of doing very great things. So I think it's fair hype. I think we think the hype is definitely, like I said, warranted. I think, you know, after playing it and really getting a deep dive into the character customization options, seeing the map and learning about all the different districts in the area and kind of deep diving into some of the lore that's been created for this game, the different factions and the corporations and the people and the culture of Cyberpunk, I think it's going to be a very fascinating world to lose ourselves in. And I think for all those reasons that the hype is currently warranted. As Shulk would say, I'm really feeling it. Can't believe I just did that. Paka Petrov asks, I'd like to know what the moment-to-moment gameplay is actually like in respect to the different builds you're able to do. Example, is it viable to talk my way out of battles or handle things more stealthily, or does everything ultimately funnel into me shooting things? So during last year's E3, I'm pretty darn sure it was confirmed by a member of the team that you can play the entirety of Cyberpunk without killing someone. So I guess if you're good enough, I almost called you Peter Parker. That's not your name. Your name is Parker. I apologize. If you're good enough, Parker, maybe you don't have to kill everyone. I am not good enough for that. I'm so bad at stealth, but there is, you know, stealth mechanic in this game, and you can get good at being stealthy if you so choose, and it's your typical stealth. You press B to crouch, you walk around, you know, there's, what am I trying to say? Indicators above the enemy's head. If you're getting close and they see you, all you have to do is kind of scuffle back behind a wall or something, and then they won't see you anymore. I'm sure the hacking that you can do can help you get along in your stealth playthrough. So I did notice that when I was playing, I did have some options to integrate it seemed like it was a mechanical expertise, which must have been one of the technology skill trees that I put points into. I know you can unlock certain dialogue trees depending on what attributes you put points in. So there are a lot of different ways to finish quests. That's something that CD Projekt Red is really, really pushing. And for example, in the prologue mission that I played alone, I think there's like 3 or 4 different ways you can finish that quest, and they all feel unique and all reflective on the choices that you made. So that's something I think it's so cool. I love video games, man. Rachel Koski asks, I'm a sucker for cosmetic customization and gear and was nervous when they said the game was pretty much exclusively first person. Did you have the opportunity to see your character? Did you get to use the character creator or feel like the cosmetic changes matter? Or does the bulk of the character customization come down to RPG skill tree mechanics alone? So I talked about the physical customization of your character a little bit earlier in this video. But as far as how your character actually looks, there was a point where I kind of forgot what my character looked like because I hadn't seen her in 3 hours. Whoops. So, yeah, I mean, this game is primarily going to be in first-person perspective. In fact, Marcin Momont, sorry, I probably said your name wrong, global community lead at CD Projekt Red, did say in September 2019, quote, achieving full immersion in an FPP game is extremely important, and the decision was made by the team to go 100% first person in Cyberpunk. It's something that will benefit it greatly from gameplay and storytelling perspectives. That said, players will still be able to see their characters in the inventory screen, which is true, during driving sequences, in mirrors, and very occasionally in some of the cutscenes. So, from what I played, yeah, I forgot what my character looked like. I mean, I did get to, like, look down from time to time and see, like, my pants, or in a certain cutscene, you know, maybe I was just chilling for a bit. But there are clothing stores in this game, and I'm assuming that's gonna have something to do with the customization of your character. I think it all just kind of comes down to, like, how often are you actually gonna see them, which is kind of a bummer, but I guess that's the direction they wanted to go. Leonard Jacobson asks, does it feel like an evolution or iteration of The Witcher 3 in terms of gameplay, immersion, atmosphere, presentation, etc.? And how have side quests evolved in terms of melding with that gameplay loop? I was thinking about how I'm going to answer this question because it feels absolutely nothing like The Witcher 3. And that's not a bad thing, right? This is a completely different game. This is a first-person game set in the future. The Witcher is not a first-person game set in The Witcher, although I would give anything to see Geralt spend a night in Night City. Wouldn't that be entertaining as hell? Yeah, I mean, in terms of gameplay, obviously they're very different games. Immersion, atmosphere, presentation, they just feel totally different. And if you gave me The Witcher 3 and then you gave me Cyberpunk, I would never in 100 years guess that it was the same developer. Again, not a bad thing. I think it's a testament to how talented that team is at CD Projekt Red. But maybe once we play more of it, we'll get to pick some pieces from The Witcher and be like, oh yeah, that reminds me of it. But no, I can't think of anything, honestly. I tried, Leonard, I tried, but there's your answer. David Olif asks, tell me all about Keanu. Is he as awesome in the game that I expect? Big role, little role, say big role, make me happy. That look on my face, I just realized something that I can't talk about. Oh. Anyway, sorry, David. That revelation was totally related to your question, but again, I'm not going to say anything. I did not see him during my demo. Sorry, my mind is still reeling. But what I can tell you, from what it sounds like, he has a very, very big, crucial, significant role in the game. So I think you're going to be just fine, David. And if it turns out I'm totally wrong, I'm sorry. Mitch Krasen wants to know, what are the weapon systems like? What were your options and what did you use? I primarily use handguns. It worked really well for me, and as someone who doesn't get off on shooting and shooting mechanics and etc., it did the job. I was able to get lots of headshots and put people down, and I was very happy with that. Now, granted, I'm not sure if there's a difficulty in Cyberpunk, but what I did notice is every quest that I did participate in, I was matched at that level. And that was just from doing the main quest. I wasn't doing side quests or anything. So I'm guessing that that was the way the demo was set up so that it wouldn't be too difficult for people and it'd be easier just to kind of get through. So that said, in a normal playthrough, I don't know if a handgun would have done the job, but it did the job during my demo. But besides a handgun, you also have your fist. There is a melee combat system, and there are also weapons. So at the top of your screen, you have a yellow stamina bar. And so you use a stamina bar when you do melee attacks, or if you're blocking and you get hit with a melee attack, it'll absorb some of the stamina. So as far as the melee goes, you have quick attacks, which is, I think it's RT or L. I think it's RT. If you just tap RT or click RT or push in RT or whatever you do with that trigger button, you'll do a quick attack, and you can string those for combos. If you hold RT, you'll do a strong attack. If you hold LT, you will block. And you can counter if you hit LT right as an enemy is about to hit you. There are also melee weapons. I got to use a katana at one point, and that was kind of fun. I like those slice things. Works the same way as your melee fisticuffs do. Hold RT down, you get a strong attack. Tap it, you get a few quick attacks that you can probably combo. I didn't really try, I just kind of button mashed. I'm sure it was considered a combo at one point. You can, if you push B, double tap B in some direction on the stick, you will dodge. And I think that's all. Sorry, there's a bug and I just completely smacked it in the face. Nova wants to know, did you get to see different environments, or was it all just in Night City? If so, how did they look? So when you start the game, you choose a life path, and this life path will dictate your origin story. You know, how was your life like before the events of Cyberpunk 2077? Were you a street kid? Were you a nomad? Did you work in corporates? And depending on what you choose, that's how your prologue is going to kick off. So because I chose the nomad life path, I started the game off in the Badlands, which is this big old desert, and it's described officially as the vast plains outside of city proper. There are oil fields, rampant pollution, barren wastes, and this district makes Night City feel like a rich oasis. And that's pretty accurate. There's some trailers that line like one main drag, and there could have been more to see and do in the Badlands. I just didn't have the opportunity to explore, unfortunately, because I had to make sure I progressed through the demo at a good pace so I could see everything that I needed to see. So obviously the Badlands and Night City, very different, very unique. I'm not sure how often you'll be needing to leave Night City. I know for my demo, I didn't need to leave it at all. It was everything that I did took place within Night City outside of the beginning where I was in the Badlands. But for those of you who don't know, Night City is broken down into 6 districts. We have the Watson, Westbrook, Santo Domingo, Pacifica, Haywood, and the city center. And I have a little bit of more info on some of the districts. For example, Westbrook District is described as a love child of Las Vegas and Kabukicho, which sounds fucking incredible. Santo Domingo, towering mega buildings act as vertical favelas. I don't know that word. Not even pretend like I do. Just gonna roll with it. Tens of thousands of tiny apartments loom over the shadow of failed suburban bliss. Power plants, factories, etc. Then you have Pacifica. It could have been Night City's money-making vacation resort, but once the investment dried up, it became a husk just left to rot. Now it's where the turf of one Night City's most dangerous gangs, the Voodoo Boys, reside. So it sounds like the districts themselves will be unique enough so that if we don't get to leave Night City, we should be satisfied? I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I kind of went off on a tangent. Sorry. I hope I answered your question. And finally, we have a question from Noel Navarez. Based on what you've played so far, is it in the running for Britt GRUNT-WORTHY Game of the Year Award? I like that it's called the Britt GRUNT-WORTHY Game of the Year Award. A lot of things make me grunt in life, but so far, I mean, again, I've only played 4 hours of what CD PROJEKT RED is describing like a 50 to 60 hour game. The tricky part with games of that size is that do the mechanics get old after a while? Does it become a little bit too repetitive? Does the what I'm trying to say, the novelty wear off? I think that's what I was going for. Not quite sure, but it sounds good, right? Let's roll with it. So, I mean, but so far, yeah, there's, like I said, I think it looks like it's shaping up to be really good, and I'm sure you'll get a lot of grunts out of me. Right now, I think my current Game of the Year standing is going to Final Fantasy VII. I love Resident Evil 3, but it just didn't hold up to what RE2 did. I'm wrapping up Tilu 2. I guess we still have Ghost of Tsushima, and we'll see. But yeah, I think this has a really good, but then again, there's Yakuza 7 Like a Dragon. You have to define what is Britt GRUNT-WORTHY Game of the Year. Because like I said, I grunt over a lot of shit. Does it have to be the most perfect video game in terms of like pacing and polish and mechanics, or is it just something that I thoroughly enjoy? Get back to me, Noel, and let me know. Or is it Noel? I'm so sorry. I know I've said your name a million times. Every time I butcher it. Sorry. Well, friends, thank you so much for watching this video about Cyberpunk 2077 in my hands-on time with it. If you have any further questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll answer what I can. Again, I haven't played everything, but what I have played, I'll see if I can give you some insight. And for some real, like, deep dive nitty-gritty shenanigans, make sure you tune into the show on Friday, because I have literally 10 pages of notes that I'm going to read through, and Steimer and Andrea are gonna love it. And if Ree's on this week, she's gonna love it too. Right, Ree? Alright, again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye!